Hello. Hi, Box of Paint. Hi, Bobby. Hello from Maryland. Well, hello from Montreal. Hey, Yuri. Hi. Hi, Lena. Sorry for the noise. Most right. Whoops. Probably won't be able to stay long, but I'm working on a gnome plushie. Oh, that's awesome. Yes, some very inexpensive brushes. Not to use with ink, so you don't want to use the fancy stuff, really. I am very thirsty. I think I have a... Yeah, I can use that too. Sorry for all the chair noises. So I have two Jackson Studio Synthetic size 3 and size 6. I love the feeling of crunching the glue. Oh my gosh, I cannot do that. I don't know how you manage to do that, but it hurts me on a cellular level. I cannot do that. Hey, Colorsmith! Then I have a size 3 Aquafine, a Pro Art Proline, a Pro Art Polar, and a Pro Art Proline Plus. And I'm still playing with Roman Schmelt paints. Decided to challenge myself. Ooh, you know what? I was tempted to do a snowy landscape too. So this could be a thing. Haven't made a human-like plushie before, let alone made mini plushies at all. And I'm making it with a self-made pattern. Ooh, well, you're gonna learn a lot from doing that. What are you making it out of? Is it like felt or just fabric? Oops. Oops, sorry. The cable for the camera is a bit in my way. I'm making it out of scrap fabric and it has an armature wire base for movement. Oh, okay, so a real, more like a puppet. I hate when they put these glue, those barcode stickers. At least this one looks like it won't leave any residue, but you know those that leave a sticky residue on the brush? Ugh. No, not good. I also have an aquafine brush that's a bit you probably can't see, but it's a bit fuzzy. I'm hoping I can shape it back into something a bit more manageable, but who knows. Oh, why? The cat has opinions, as always. Yeah, I guess, but puppet makes me think that you put your hand up its butt. So I wasn't sure if that was the right word. Yeah, it is. You know how Pinocchio is a puppet, but it's not the same kind of puppet. Like, it's a string puppet. And I'm just gonna have to wash that out later. Do I want to put it there? No. Put it here. Always far from the computer. Marionette is just a French word for puppet. That's really all it is. Hey, me, you didn't miss much. I was just, you know, waiting for people to come in and sorting out brushes that still had the glue on. The more you know. Let's hope I'm somewhat into frame. Oh. All right, so I was digging that up. That board still has a part of it that's not painted, so I'm gonna try and find something to draw on this part of it so that I can ink it, paint it, and then remove these from the stretcher. That's my plan. It could be a gnome. What's a gnome? Funny novels about little humanoid beings. Huh. Oh, Terry Pratchett. I don't think I've read those from his very substantial selection of books. But then again, whatever I've read from Terry Pratchett, that's long ago enough that I don't remember it much. Terry Pratchett did good books. Economics. Bromeliad series. I'll check that out. It was amazing. Speaking of Pratchett, I don't know how many of you guys in the chat followed what's happening with Neil Gaiman, but yeah, kind of yuck, kind of gross. Economics and in sewer ants. In sewer ants. Is it for like insurance? Terry Pratchett made some amazing books. Some of the best. Love a Blown Words, yeah. Oh my god, what the schmeck. What a schmuck. Though, oh wait, I shouldn't say that. I don't know exactly what it means. Oh yeah, I read about Gaiman. Big yikes? The biggest of yikes. Ugh. Ugh. I read so much and still doesn't seem like what I'm reading is read about Neil. Yeah, it doesn't really gel well with the kind of public perception you get of him just from skimming, like not looking into deep into this stuff, but still gross. Still very disappointing. Like, it shouldn't be so hard to not be a creep. Like come on, dude. Gross. But not discounting the stories, just saying it feel horrible. Yeah, it's as it often is with those people who turn out to be creeps. You feel a certain level of betrayal in a way, because it's like I was I was sort of enjoying and endorsing and promoting your creative content, but not if you're a horrible person. And you were a horrible person when always, so bleh. I've got a couple of Gaiman's book on my shelf. I read Good Omens when Afka was sick, and I would read it sitting. Aw, I can't look at those books now without thinking of. Yeah, it's really difficult. I know that some people are able to dissociate the artist from the work of art, and in that way they might be able to still enjoy the books by abstracting the information about who wrote them. But it's not a skill set I possess. I can't do that. So I'm just grossed out. And I was like, oh no. So that doesn't mean good things for the Good Omen series, and then the Sandven series. The content doesn't fit with the behavior. Yeah, that's the right word. Betrayal and shock that amazing people can be absolutely terrifying and horrible behind the scenes. Yeah, and you're like, it's a bit like, oh, so all this time you were lying to us just so that we'd buy your shit. Sorry, buy your stuff. I have a super hard time separating the art from the artist too. Yeah, it's difficult because the art doesn't exist in a vacuum. It was created by someone. And whoever that person is has an impact on the art they make, you know. David Tennant posted that Good Omens content is now 100% part of the Pratchett estate. Oh, what does that mean? They've kicked... they've booted the Gaiman to the curb. How about no? In terms of the show and graphic novel. Oh, awesome! David Tennant is a good person as far as we know. Speaking of like suddenly finding out that someone's a creep, so I feel like with the years and the way things have unfolded, in a lot of cases, like I find myself often going like, oh, I really hope so and so doesn't turn out to be a creep. Please, please don't ever be a creep. Please. I cannot. I can't do it if this person turns out to be a creep. Knocking on wood, yeah, knocking on all the wood really loudly. With busted up, frozen, dry ass joints. Like, come on, please. Fingers crossed, everything. Hey, Otto! Hello! We're talking about, well, initially we started talking about Terry Pratchett, but then I asked if people were following up on the Neil Gaiman situation. What if I did one more landscapey? Hey Otto, you're timely. I have a Doctor Who question for you, since I know almost nothing about Doctor Who. But when David Tennant was the Doctor, who was the showrunner? Was it Moffat? Or did Moffat come before or after? Okay, uh-oh. Saddle up, everyone. Russell T. David. Okay. So not Moffat. Who is the current? Oh, it. Oh, interesting. Don't let Moffat be a creep. Well, I don't know what he is, but please don't let him be a showrunner either. Please. Oh god, I just remembered that I've met Gaiman. Ugh. Did he give you any kind of a weird vibe when you met him? Honestly, if Moffat turns out to be a creep, I'm just gonna stop watching TV. But, hold on, I thought no one really enjoyed his shows. Hi, Tara. Or the other Tara. Hold on. I do. What do you mean, Carl Smith? No, I only met him for a minute. It was a reading and signing by him that my friend dragged me to and made me queue with her to get her book signed. Oh, okay. I mean, I feel like it's got to be a bit better than if you were a really big fan and then turns out that the dude is a freaking creep. It's hard enough letting go of the one episode of Doctor Who that Gaiman wrote. Was it a good episode? Oh, enjoying the Moffat shows. Oh, okay. I personally, I don't really enjoy the way he writes shows. I haven't watched everything, but a long time ago I watched his Jekyll show, and then Sherlock. As a person who really likes the lore of Sherlock Holmes, his Sherlock show was kind of a nightmare. It was terrible. Hey, Hippopotamus, hi! I stopped watching after Matt Smith. Matt Smith, that's the name I was trying to find. Oh no, I tend to get dragged to stuff by other people. Oh no! That doesn't sound good. Oh no, I'm gonna have to apologize in advance because I know I'm gonna be that kind of person. Coupling was great. I haven't watched Coupling. Mostly because I wasn't able to find it like streaming anywhere. I really like Jack Davenport. Norrington. He was my favorite character of the Pirates movies, but I never got around to watching Coupling. It's funny how much Hev hates the show. I really hate it. it's painful. I'm gonna retreat into my mind bubble of Elementary, and just be happy with that one. That's a cozy place in my head. He was also awesome. Oh yeah, I had started watching Why Women Kill, and he was really good in that. But then my subscription stopped, so I didn't finish it. I will probably at some point. He's a good actor. I really like him. I felt like his character in Pirates was kind of relatable in a way. Like his story arc was really interesting. I have no idea what I'm drawing. Oh, Elementary is amazing. It's so good. So good. There's the only flaw that they have in Elementary is Joan's wardrobe for like half a season is completely like, it's not even in the vein of the seasons where she has some really expensive designer dresses and whatnot, and then she kind of dresses in a uniform, not a uniform, in a suit for a season or whatnot, and then there's a season when she wears the ugliest things for a few episodes, and I'm like, what happened? Like I can do with the designer dresses, I can do with the more like workout fit kind of like as a consultant, but the I don't know why. All I have in my head are the pink sweatpants. No. Elementary is my Sherlock. I'm glad you guys like Elementary. That makes me happy. Because I think, like, when it was first announced, the whole premise was kind of suspicious. Because it was like, how are you going to make it work now to have a show that's based on Sherlock Holmes but have it set in the US? Like, how is that going to pan out? But it works so well. The white cardigan season. Oh no, I don't remember that. All I have in my mind is the freaking pink sweatpants. I don't even know if she was wearing pink sweatpants, but it's the vibe that my brain got stuck on. I'm kind of in my Bones era now. Decided to... Ooh, that's a lot of seasons to watch. Bones is fun. I think I watched a lot of it, but I stopped at some point. And I don't remember why. Also, the other problem with that show is that they did. It kind of works, like, in the storyline, it works, but it's a shame. Because seeing Sherlock and Michael, oh, I know. They have good chemistry. Elementary is for me. Oh no, you don't like Elementary. Okay, well, if you like Sherlock, of course you're not gonna like Elementary. I think Elementary is in the same universe as Trainspotting. And oh my gosh! Ouch! I tried that. Gotta be a bit buddied out after a while. Oh, watching Bones. I think it's season 2. But see, I kind of don't really mind if she wears the same cardigan all the time, because that's kind of realistic. Like, assuming that their universe works like ours and she has a limited wardrobe, as someone who will wear the same, like, sweater or shirt for, like, weeks on ends until it's, you know, it has to be washed. So I can relate to that. But at some point she in my mind's eye, okay, it's probably not right, but she's wearing like a black tank top, pink sweatpants with a metallic stripe on the side, and then high heels. And I think my brain just yeeted itself. It's just, I love David, since Buffy and Angel and Just Can't Resist. Plus, I'm a huge fan of detective TV shows. Yeah, I really like the premise, but I think at some point it started being a bit weird. Just because they keep stretching the shows. But yeah, like at some point you're like, how do you push this premise for yet another season? And I think Bones is old enough that it was written when season had like 26 episodes. Which is a lot of episodes. Oh my gosh. It's like we're watching Supernatural. You're in for a really long time of watching Supernatural if you decide to start from the beginning, because it's seasons of like 26 times 45 minutes episode. No one does that anymore. I appreciate shows where they wear the same thing more than once, usually because we can afford it. Yeah, same. Also, Elementary is infinitely... It's so good to rewatch. It's so much fun. Hey, Art Files! Hello! From Ireland! Ooh! I appreciate that you are using a sketchbook the way the good Lord intended. Wait, what does that refer to? I don't have a problem with her wearing the same cardigan. However, it's that the same person. Yeah, that's a thing. That's a thing. I agree with you on that. I would have loved if her wardrobe was more consistent throughout all the seasons. That's a thing that bothered me. That bothered me through rewatching Elementary, because you kind of get whiplash from one season to another regarding her specific wardrobe. Sherlock's doesn't really change all that much. Not in a way that's as jarring. He starts wearing like jeans, skinny t-shirts, a scarf, and like a peacoat. But that kind of fits with him at the beginning of the show. And then as he progressively gets his ish together, he starts wearing the stuff that's a bit more put together as well, you know? But it's not like a huge clash, like from one season to the other. It kind of makes sense. Hers, however, is whiplashy. Like, what's happening? Don't remind me about Supernatural. I like it till season 6 and that's it. I like all of them except the season with the Leviathan. That's the only Supernatural season that I was so disappointed about. We almost restarted Supernatural, and by the time we scrolled back enough to season 1, sorry. Hey, Laura. Hi. Hello, hello. Whimsical owls. Ooh. Sketchbook should be for developing ideas, not for finished painting that go on the wall. Yeah, I agree. I tend to have a bunch of sketchbooks all at once, and they all serve a different purpose. I have quite a few sketchbooks that are for planning out ideas, but also have my sketchbook for, paintings to test out palettes and whatnot. It's like they don't respect our character as an actual person. Yeah, that's the one aspect of the character that they kind of lost me. In a few seasons, I think she has a fairly reasonable wardrobe, and then she gets the designer dresses, which was a bit kind of weird, and then she gets like the suits and vests, and it was like, oh, okay. I don't know why they did that. My favorite wardrobe is Melinda's Ghost Whisper. What's that? Collier Smith, did you watch H. Bumber Guy's video about Sherlock? No. Okay. Just curious. I only watched a musical episode of TV shows. Really? trying to think of something of interest to add to my doodles, so there's a little bit of something extra interesting in there. One of the Buffy musical songs find its way to play on repeat in my brain. 4 is very snowy. 4. Sketch 4. Oh. It's what's the joke? You guys know it's a visual joke. Let's remove these for full effect. But do you know what this is? It's a polar bear in a snowstorm. It's so funny. My hands are so messed up. Ugh. I once asked Bear if it's uwu or owo, and he slapped the dickens out of me. Also, little turkey, for the first time ever, he did the overstimulated death grip on my arm. Wait, what? Oh, shit. I think he was having a bad day and was over cuddles. That's enough! So what have you guys been up to this weekend? Any special plans? Painting a lot of paintings with your new colors. That's awesome. It's so refreshing to see someone who's really inspired and and like excited to paint and waiting for new brushes to finally arrive. What did you end up getting? Princeton Aqua Elite set. Ooh. Shopping for art supplies, found round canvases. Ooh. Had to travel to the north. Nice trip. It's gonna be pretty. They had a sale and decided to buy Art of Soil's full range palette and hoping it hands. Ooh, what is that? Are those like artisan watercolors? Ooh, sounds exciting. Art of Soils. I'm thinking about ordering their Snap series too. The Princeton Snap is a really nice, like kind of workhorse, affordable synthetic brushes. They're really nice. Art of Soil are handmade paints and their IG is amazing. I'm not sure what they add for some of the colors, but they all contain earthy pigments. Ooh. I struggle with myself not to buy the Schmincke Titan Buff watercolor. What's your thought process on it? Like, what's appealing to you in the color, and what's making it so you don't get it? Like, what's preventing you from getting it? It's gonna be a pause for hand cream. Whee! Titan Buff Titanium is one of my favorite mixing colors. Yeah, I really like it for that too. So that's why I'm asking. Like, I feel like it's not necessarily a primary color to get, like one of the first colors you want to get when you buy paints, but it's definitely in my sort of second round of paint because it's a really, really nice color. So I mean, do you have it already from another brand? You'll have a hard time finding a paint that has a similar hue. I think the only one I've seen that's also named something like Titan Buff or whatever, I think it was from Van Gogh. And theirs is a very similar hue, but it's a mix of a white and a brown pigment. But I really, really like Titanium Buff as well. It's a really handy color to have if you want to, like, how can I say, tone down a color a bit, but not necessarily have it go through white. It tones it down and it mutes it just a teeny bit. It's a really nice color. I have like a side thought of getting like Neptune and Velvet Touch set too, just to see what will work for me better in the end. Well, I mean, so depending on how you roll with it, you could just try the ones you got, the Aqua Elite, first, and then have, like, if you use them for long enough to have a really good feel for how they work for you, then when you try other ranges, you will be able to compare. Whereas if you try all of them kind of all at once, it's more difficult to really compare how they work for you. Does that make sense? It's new and I want it. Rummage Mall and Van Gogh are in my arsenal. I love to use the Rummage Mall one. Yeah, it's really, really nice. The Van Gogh one, like I said, I think it's a bit different because it's not just the Titan Buff pigment, but the resulting hue is the same, but it's not made from a single pigment. Not that it matters much of anything, it was just surprising to see. I was really under the impression that Titanium Buff, being a, you know, sort of a titanium white family of pigment, would not necessitate that someone would do a kind of a dupe of it by mixing two colors. I really expected it to be the same PW6 Cullen 1, I think. But then it was like PW6 regular and PPR7 or something. And I was like, oh, okay. I guess. If that's how you want to go about it. That's your choice. Van Gogh is much lighter. Oh, okay. I thought they were really similar. I've been learning to appreciate opaque watercolors like buff titanium after shunning them for so long. Also PW4 Chinese white. Chinese white is kind of a weird one because it's sort of in between. It is more of a semi-opaque white. It does make sense, that's why I opted for Aqua Elite first and Snap as a backup. Because the set I found has a couple of really fine detail brushes, yeah. The Snap ones are really good, sort of basic brushes. I made my dupe with PW6 and raw umber and I'm not sorry about it. That's fine. That's absolutely fine. I feel like those Snap brushes, like personally, if I have to give my take on it, I think that there's a certain hierarchy of supplies you want to get initially when first starting, and they're not all on the same level. There are things that I feel it's more important to get good quality, and there are things that I feel you can get away with going with something that's a bit more affordable and a bit more basic. And in the case of watercolor, I feel like you could really do a lot of good work at first with really basic brushes. And I think the Princeton Snap brushes are some that I would consider really good basic brushes. They're not expensive, they will tolerate quite a good beating, and they will get the work done. They work really well. And I don't think that if you're starting and you really don't know what you like in a brush or don't like in a brush, it's really not worth it to spend a lot of money on brushes. I think you're better off getting a couple of Princeton Snap in a like size, I don't remember what numbers they have, but let's say a size 2, a size 6, and a size 10. And you try that first. And that shouldn't cost all that much. Though with the way prices are increasing all over, hard to say, but they should be relatively affordable. And the thing you kind of need to keep your budget mostly for is for good paper. I feel not a rule that will apply to everyone. I know a lot of painters who do really good work with really basic paper that you wouldn't think people can make such good work on, but they make it work for them. But from a point of view of having no experience in all of this, I really think that it's important to get good paper first, then get good paint. And if it's pricey, I think you're better off getting less color of a good paint than more colors of a, subpar paint, and then brushes. I have buff titanium from Daniel Smith and Van Gogh. The latter one is more milky, if it makes sense. And DS1 is a bit more yellowy. Oh, interesting. Good paper and not great paint is so much better than not great paper and absolutely. Oh my gosh. But they are really great affordable brushes. The hard part is finding the shape that works for you. Yep. That's why I think, let me know what you think, but I feel like starting with a round brush is, first of all, it's easy to find. Round brushes are everywhere. And then it gives you a good starting point to find what you like and don't like. Because round brushes, you'll be able to see if you can get fine details with it, with the point. You'll be able to see if you prefer to use it squished to have broader strokes. And then once you kind of realize what you like the most, you can perhaps select a brush that is a better fit. Sometimes it's just going a size up or a size down or something like that. But yeah, I agree that good paper and and not so great paints works out so much better than the other way around. Oh my god. It's really hard to make subpar paper work for you, whereas you can make subpar paints work for you a bit more easily. I start liking flat brushes more and more. They're really fun. Also, I don't know if you guys have tried a bit stuff like watercolor and then a bit of gouache, but since they don't really handle the same way, I find that I don't like the same brushes for the two mediums. For gouache, I tend to prefer angle brushes, and when I paint in watercolor, I usually grab round brushes. I've started with round like 5 years ago. Both brush and paint were from Rosa. Still use both, but brush is dying. Yeah, that's fine. I mean, 5 years of using a brush, that's really good. And Rosa paints are great paints, so you started off with, you know, at least that. Escoda Aquarius. I don't think I've heard of that brush. I've not tried Rosa paints, but saw Cyan's swatches of some surprise granulating colors, and I'm super tempted. Thing is they're really nice. They're really affordable too. Okay, finished my landscape, and the only thing I don't hate about is the house. Oh no! Well, I guess you can sort this one out as a learning opportunity. I'm a bit biased here as being Ukrainian, but they're good. I'm not Ukrainian and think they're great too. Sorry. The only thing I would mention about Rosa paints, and it's not a flaw, it's just something that I would let people know beforehand so they know, but they tend to be quite soft. So just gotta keep that in mind. they're a bit similar to how some, you know, White Knight paints can get soft. So when I've painted with Rosa, I've noticed that if I put too much water in a pan, at a certain point it gets really like soft. And I find it more difficult to work with them when that happens, because I find it more difficult to evaluate how much paint I'm picking up with my brush. But it's not an issue per se, it's just something you got to keep in mind. Like, this is not the set that you want to store upside down. This is the set that you want to kind of make sure you always store flat. Because I wouldn't be surprised if the paints ran away. But that's the only thing, really. The colors are amazing. I've tried their Aurelian green, Aurelian green, and it's such a beautiful, like, yellow-green color. I think I had the indigo, I had a bright magenta in there, a warm yellow. I think I made a video on them, and they're really, really pretty. My problem is having far too many paints, and I can't possibly use them all up, but I still want to own all of them. Very relatable. Thing is, with Rosa, you can sometimes find them open stock. So for those really interesting granulating colors, or the one that spoke to you the most, you can get a few pans open stock. And I feel like it's easier to justify getting colors if it's not something you already have. Whereas if paints only come as sets, I find that harder to justify, because you're like, oh, I don't need the full set, I just want like this color. That's the major downfall of that really pretty Fraser brass palette. You turn the paints upside down when it's closed. Oh no! Oh, that's a really poor design. Oh, that's silly. So what, they expect you to kind of leave the box open all the time? Or to store the box upside down? That's called collection. I have the same thing, and for now the only point that stops me is budget. Yeah, that's the other thing. Just out of curiosity, how many people in chat are in the US? Someone must have tested it. But seems like they didn't, and as a travel palette, your paints are gonna be at least damp. Oof. But is it, okay, is it one of those travel palettes that they say it's a travel palette, but basically it's something that you're intended to kind of keep on your desk to look pretty? I already struggle with, you know, those palettes that when you close them, necessarily one of the side is gonna be upside down. That's already a struggle in my head, because I'm like, oh, how is that supposed to work? So I don't even know with a palette that basically all the pans are gonna be upside down. It's lovely on the desk, but it comes with a water jar and 2 pots to fill with water. Yeah, but maybe they mean like, oh, it's a travel set for you to travel from your living room where it's displayed to your studio where you paint. I'm trying really hard. I don't really have a solution. That's really poor design. My paper is much less square, let's say. And if it were reverse, it's great travel with for sketches, but grr. I'm not sure if I would travel with such a pricey palette. Nice journey. Yeah, I travel a lot. I'm a globetrotter. It's not gonna get damage thrown in a bag, apart from leaking paint. But I mean, leaking paint, that will happen with just about any palette if you just, you know, put it in your bag carelessly. Even the very standard metal tins, they're not leak proof. If anything is a bit too wet in there, it's gonna, you know, leak. The pans are not going to be upside down necessarily, but it's still going to leak. It's really sturdy. When it made me angry, I was much less precious about it, and a little scuff here and there, but not a single dent. Whoa. So you got it. You bought it. I'm still pondering the designer brain that okayed a palette to be stored upside down. Like, this is such a weird thing to not pick up on. Because I feel like the very moment you grab it and close it, that's the first thing you're gonna notice, right? It was an amazing birthday gift a few years back. Oh, what a shame. It's such a pretty palette. Really want to go plein air somewhere pretty, but it's so cold outside that only thing I am willing to do is get to my desk still wrapped in a blanket to paint that way. Well, I agree. It's like it's really quite cold today. Yesterday was a bit better, but we've been hovering close to minus 20 Celsius. And yeah, that can be really crispy. But now lives on my studio desk, and hubby printed me a replacement fixed pan insert with a lid. Ooh, I want to see that. Man, 3D printing is so cool. The things you can do with it. I don't know if we'll ever get to that, but I'm looking forward to the future, this version of the future where almost everyone has one. And it's a bit like having a toaster or a microwave, in the sense that it's really common and easy to use. so that you can mix stuff up. I mean, if you want one, but oh my gosh. I also hope that one day they get the technology for 3D printing to the point where the items that are printed with it don't have all those lines on it. Because it's a bit annoying for mixing surfaces. Because all the paint gets stuck in the little tiny grooves. And it's annoying. It's a bit like when your food touches the other food on your plate and you're like, no, I don't want this to mix with that. Ah! Yeah, that. It's -4 Celsius in Wisconsin right now, and though I'm used to much colder, it's still not pleasant to go anywhere. Yeah, that's the thing. We don't use ours every day, but it has come in handy so many times, and hubby sorted out pen template for me so I can have an almost limitless supplies. It's like running your brush over sandpaper for mixing errors. Yeah, it's I'm not sold on it. Really. You get that with a better resolution, much more expensive. Oh, well, hopefully it's gonna slowly become more and more affordable. Fingers crossed. But yeah, and you can have like custom pans. All those things we see, like corner pans for the edges of the tin, or like split pans, or pans that are slanted at the bottom. It's 25 degrees Celsius here in Australia. That sounds lovely. Like, we're used to -20 here, so the thing with the weather is just, you know, to have access to the gear to deal with it. It's a bit like when it rains, it's much more enjoyable if you have rain boots, because that way your feet stay dry. But yeah, the thing is when it's -20, even if you have the good gear to protect yourself from the cold, it's kind of still uneven. Let's illustrate that. Let's have a human here. No, this is not a gingerbread person. This is a human with mittens. So -20. You have at least one hat, at least a scarf, and then a coat. Hopefully a longer coat. And then you have mittens, like real ones. And then you have boots. That's the basic gear. Okay. Depending on how the cold affects you, you might have some variant of that. But then the issue is that the body doesn't heat itself all evenly. So more often than not, I get super hot anyway because it's cold. Like, all this area, all the main like torso body area is super warm, and then my hands are warm, and then my head is cold because my head is always cold, and then my knees are really cold. My feet are okay, and then even if I have a long coat that covers the thighs, my thighs are always cold, and they get affected by the cold, and they crack and they dry, and it's nasty. So it's like I can manage, but it's still difficult to do it properly. Australia is nice, but all the living things that want to kill you, yeah. It gets to 37 mid-noon. What? 37. 37. At my hometown during summer, regular temperatures around 50. Ah! Okay, no, that's too much. That's not. Oh, I can't. No. 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 No, 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 no. No, thank you. Oh my gosh. Ah. 50. Lana, by the way. Now we have 2 Lanas in chat. We have Arctic Journals and Lana Goes Art. So I'm gonna try to go with your usernames so that it's a bit easier to know who I'm talking about. Hey Lyra, hi. Halfway to boiling. It is too much. I live in Wisconsin, but originate from small city in South Ukraine, and summer there is hell. Oh, really humid too? Oh no. I would not have expected that, really. The sun is quite intense and it's very dry. I'm still not sure what is worse or better. To have the same kind of temperature, like really, really hot, but with humidity or dry. I think from a survival point of view, I think the dry one is easier to survive because you can still sweat. And the sweat will help you cool down. Whereas if it's really, really humid, even if you sweat, it's not going to help you cool down. But yeah, aside from that, both sound really unpleasant. That's why I want to go back to live in Puerto Rico. Yeah, dude, that's too hot. That's way too hot. It's a moist heat. Heavy. Oh, it's the... Bleh. Nope. Nope. Again. Nope. Even underneath the shade you can't cool down. Yeah, because if I remember right, the body cools itself by sweating because with whatever little wind or whatever big wind there is, if your sweat evaporates, it helps cool you down. Like the action of the water evaporating, it cools the body. But if it's too humid and you can't evaporate sweat, you can't cool down. And people can die from that. Now that I'm older, I prefer the cold. Dude, fine. I know who likes hot and humid. I don't think I've ever heard anybody like hot and humid. So I moved to northern Ukraine as soon. What's the kind of difference of temperature from the southern part to the northern part? Is it substantial? The higher the hair, the closer to God hairdos of Texas in the 80s is because you step outside and your hair instantly freezes. It cooks instantly. Pretty substantial, yes. Plus further from the sea, so no humidity. Oh, good to know. Yeah, makes sense. The sea is pretty, but it's not worth having to live in 50 Celsius plus humidity temps. Southern England is just meh all year long, and I love it. It sounds good, to be honest. I feel like it's easier to manage meh like throughout than like big, you know, cycles of hot and cold and nonsense. Though, I mean, everybody's struggling with the weather. I don't think there's any location on Earth that's spared issues with temperatures, but yeah. Oh my gosh, why is it so hard to come up with an idea of what to draw? I'm kind of okay with average temperatures being around 25 to 27 Celsius. That's perfect. I love a good 15. The thing is I don't really enjoy wearing shorts. And I like wearing sweaters and long sleeves and stuff like that. So I think that if it hovered between 10 and 15, it would give me the best opportunity for that. To wear the clothing that I really enjoy wearing. Like cozy sweaters and comfy pants and shorts. I just don't like them. There's nothing wrong with looking to some reference images for inspiration. Yeah, I have a few next to me, but usually, yeah. I mean, sometimes I will look through my Pinterest images because I save a bunch of pictures on Pinterest for something that will give me an idea. I have a few printed. I've looked through things, but it's been a weird, like it's phases, and I've been doing a lot of sketches of like human or human adjacent characters, but not so much backgrounds. So I'm kind of a bit just like my level of inspiration for backgrounds is a bit lower than it can be at times. Does that make sense? Sometimes they inspire me more, so sometimes their level is higher, so it's easier to find ideas. But other times, yeah, it's just... Oh, I've cooled down a bit from that landscape failure, and I'm thinking what to paint next. Ooh! How do you come up with your ideas? 1620 is perfect for me. You can still wear my hoodies and not melt, and inside building is still comfy. Yeah, and you can open the windows. That's nice. 1823, that's also good. 21 to 26 is the Goldilocks temp for me. A lot of buildings here are meant to trap in heat, and mid-20s it starts to cook you. I live in Florida where it's beautiful. Oh, you have it hot and humid there. Draw the moon landing. The moon landing? One of my guilty pleasure to listen to, like background noise when I'm doing other stuff, is conspiracy theories. And yeah, the people who will claim that the moon landing is not real are particularly entertaining to listen to. Canadians haven't been to the moon yet. Hey, the Canadian arm has been in space, at the very least. So respect the Canadian arm or whatever. And not a lot of people have been to the moon, to be honest. When it comes to realistic or semi-realistic scenarios, I do Pinterest usually. With whimsical, mostly go with the flow. to wherever my imagination leads me. Interesting. Do you, when you do the more whimsical stuff, do you start with a like a specific point? Like as an example, do you start by drawing like, oh, I want to draw a house, so you draw the house first and then you build everything around it? Or if you basically just start like at the bottom of the image and build it up to the top? Does that make sense? Draw the moon landing. Must have been so particular to set foot on the moon and then come back and survive. I mean, whoa. My normal sketchbooks are handmade paper and I often use Peridolia. Oh, that's really interesting. It's a bit like I kind of do that in the bathroom because we have some of the ugliest tiles I've ever seen in the bathroom, and they kind of have a bit of a weird abstract pattern on it that kind of looks like vomit. And when I kind of zone out, I try to spot things in the ugly pattern. And kind of sad that I can't draw on the walls directly. Usually I start with the bottom to the top with hills as a main point and then add on whatever fancies me. Oh, that sounds interesting. That's cool. Alright, so how do we feel about a bit of a ramble and show and tell for the rest of the video? Since I really can't, like, I guess my idea bank is kind of empty, so I need to look at things and read things and fill my brain back up with, you know, potential, since it's pretty empty right now. Sorry. I always struggle with landscapes. It always ends up being so cluttered, even backgrounds. Do you want to elaborate a bit? Perhaps there's a couple of tips we can find or share that might help you with that. I did a whole book of house spirits that were 100% of them were from what I saw in the imperfection. Oh, that sounds really cool. It's a bit like, you know, the exercise of painting a blob of paint, and then you try to use that to create something. I don't know when to stop when it comes to the tiny details. Ooh, that sounds really nice, box of paint. So, I mean, details and backgrounds, there's a couple of things that you can kind of keep in mind. I don't know what style of painting you usually go for, but the further away something is, the less detail you're gonna see on it, and you can accentuate that by having the items that are further away being even less detailed. Like when you look at a photo, you might be able to say, oh, but I still see the leaves on the trees far away. But kind of your job as an artist is to take the information you get from the picture and to sort out what to keep and what to, discard. So perhaps that's something you can keep in mind, that if something is really close to the camera or the viewer, that's the thing that would technically have the most details, and then the further away it goes, the less details. So that can help with the clutter. Like, let's say you're drawing trees in the back, well, they might just be silhouette of the whole mass of trees and not each tree drawn out, if that makes sense. It's made from recycled linen, and you can see the lines of the weave when you... Oh, that's cool. AD... ZHD? What? Sometimes the simpler the better, yeah. But the thing is simpler is not... Oh, ADHD, okay, just a typo. But yeah, hold on. Being able to do something simply is not necessarily easy, so that's why sometimes you kind of have to do a few iterations of things. And you can try, like in your sketchbook, and you try options before going out, oh, what works out best is this thing. Because it's kind of a lot of work to get to something that looks simple. It's a bit like Dolly Parton says. It's expensive to look this cheap. All right. I'm just rolling away to my stack of cool stuff that I have here that I've been looking at lately. So what it is a stack of Hellboy's single comics, and then a big stack of comic books in French. So this series has always been something that is particularly close to me because it's one of the very first comic books that I read as a kid, almost teen. Thanks, Ev, I'll take that into consideration. I only learn art from YouTube. I did sketches when I was a kid. I mean, if you want to send example to me or put them on Discord or whatnot to get perhaps some less abstract tips, if you feel comfortable with that, might be able to get even more tips this way. But yeah, and also there's not like a good or a bad way to do things. There's just the way you like to do things. So if you like having a lot of details in an image, that can work too. What you have to figure out is to work on the aspect of it that you seem to struggle with, is the fact that it looks cluttered. So if you like details, how can you organize the details to make it look less cluttered to you? But yeah, there's not one way to do art. So limited time drawings are a great cure for excessive details, also big brushes. Yeah. I decided to pick it up again because of my health. So yeah, so this is Targal. And I stumbled upon issues of this. This series has been going for a long time. And when I was a kid, I stumbled upon some of the earlier volumes of this at the library. Is that what you call it? Library? Yeah, I think so. The place where you can rent out books. And I just fell in love with it, and it's always been one of my favorite. But through the years, it has changed artists and whatnot, and this is the latest artist of it, and he is very, very good in my opinion. And like, I've always been fascinated with Vikings and stuff, so this is really, really, like, in the Venn diagram of my tastes, this gets a lot of coverage. But it's just so nice. And it's just so impressive when you think about it. Like, a book like this has around 48 pages. And they're all like this full of art, which is kind of mind-blowing. And it's always been something that I thought was really impressive. So I've been like really getting back into it since they switched to this artist, because I really like their work. So there's quite a few, and the covers are still painted by the original artist up to a certain point. And yeah, so that's something that I find personally inspiring, just to see the way they build up the universe and all of that. That's one. And then this one, I think everybody knows of Hellboy. I don't think you can possibly be around and not have heard of Hellboy in one way or another. Have you read the Dina series by Jean? Yeah, Moebius? I haven't. I've heard a lot about Moebius, and I've seen his work, and it's really, really nice. I had one of his book, and I read it, and I mean, for that specific book, the story didn't really speak to me, but in terms of visual universe and art and the world he built with his, you know, drawing in comics, that's really, really awesome. I really like it, but I haven't read a lot of it. And yeah, speaking of doing something simple, like, a lot of people tend to dismiss. A lot of people. Okay, so story time. I once was in a comic book shop, and I've always loved Mignola's work on Hellboy. And I picked up a Hellboy, and I was like, "Oh, this is so cool! I love this so much." And the when you go to comic book shop, you kind of usually, you know, get to chat with the employees there, and the comic book dude at the moment that was working at the shop, it was like, "Oh, but look at this other guy, look at all the details," and I was just like, yeah, but to me it's much harder to reach something like this in terms of aesthetics that works than having a lot of details, because you when you fill an image with a lot of details, you don't really ask yourself what needs to be there and what doesn't. Whereas when you have something like this, you kind of have to go through this process of what am I going to put there, what am I not going to put there. So yeah, it's just really, really striking. And it's just another way to do things. There's not a good or a bad way to do things, but oh, these, and it's printed so nicely on this good shiny paper. Kind of just want to eat it. Hop. Cozy from Switzerland. What? It's just so very nice. Really like it. And then you have this guy too, who did a lot of issues, who has a style that works really well with the original, like really black and white style, but is also a bit different in the sense that it has more detail and less abstraction. Cozy. Oh, it's a comic artist. I don't know them. The Max was my second favorite comic growing up, and some pages are so full of details, and other made me feel like I could do that. Yeah, it's one of those things that there's not one solution. There's just whatever it is. It's up to the viewer to be like, oh, do I vibe with this or do I not? So pretty. Nolan studies using, oh wait, Noten. Have to remember. I mean, it's a thing that's a really interesting way to do studies too, is to just, like you say, I mean, being forced into it by having only like a black pen rather than something you can erase. So that's a really interesting way also to do studies, because first of all, you can't erase, so sometimes that forces you to observe more before putting lines down, and it's a good way to kind of force your brain into figuring out solutions to represent stuff in only 2 colors. Hellboy comics have such a great color palette. Ah, they do. The colorist, the not the unsung hero, because I think a lot of people like recognize his how what's the word I'm looking for? His absolutely vital contribution to the whole thing. But yeah, the colors, oh, they're so good. So good. It's so interesting. I've been in a kind of a research mode regarding Hellboy and Mignola's work and all of that, and you can find images of like originals and whatnot, and it's really interesting to take a super close look at it, because most of the originals that are made, the art that's been inked, the ink, like all the black areas are inked, but they're kind of really patchy. So you kind of need to take this ink work and to scan it and then to adjust it so the blacks are fully black. But that kind of makes it really difficult. Like, it's not something that you could use as is to add traditional colors on top, because it's kind of not made for that. And I thought that was really interesting, because in that sense it allows Mignola to use a lot of whiteout if need be, because anyway the artwork is gonna be scanned in and corrected and cleaned up a bit before being digitally colored. And I thought that was really, really interesting to see, because it's this notion that when you see a finished piece, it's really hard to remember that it went through a process to end up there, and that process was not perfect, and there were mistakes, and the mistakes were fixed. And in the end, when you see the final result, you have no idea just how much whiteout was used, you know, or how many times something was drawn, or the kind of corrections one had to do on it. So I think that's really interesting, because it brings this whole process to a level that to me feels a lot more manageable. Whereas I feel like if I just see final result and my brain gets bugged on the final result, it's not a good way to learn or improve. But it's so nice. It's so good. The color palette is really cohesive with the content in the comic. If you are like, yeah, maybe most of you guys are not particularly interested in this stuff, but Box of Paint, you seem to at least be a bit aware of the comics and whatnot. If you are interested in this kind of things, there's a documentary that's quite recent on Mignola. I think it's called Drawing Monsters. And it's really interesting because it speaks about his, his whole career and whatnot. And it's a really interesting perspective into a world that kind of no longer exists, that being the heyday of comic books. And how, like, it's always nice to hear the artist speaks about his approach or their approach, whatever, to making their content and how they get to this. And I thought the documentary was really interesting. There's a kind of a long part about the movies that to me was a bit less interesting, but overall the whole thing is really fun to watch. And it's kind of fascinating to have the artist, talk a bit about his thought process behind all this stuff. I feel like when looking at art, half of the fun is being able to understand how or why or what pushed the artist to do this thing in a specific way. So just looking at it as a spectator is fun, but having a bit more insight into why it's like that, I feel like that's extra. I love that type of documentary. I hope you can find it, and I hope if you do, you enjoy it, because it's really interesting. It's a perspective on something that was like just before our time. You're like, oh, we missed out. What? People used to be able to make a living out of making comics? What? That's a thing. Also, there's a really cute comic in here. It's a crossover, I think, with Hellboy and a series that is titled Beasts of Burden. And it's full of cute dogs and cats. And it's painted in probably watercolor. Watching one about Brian Froud. Ooh! I learned that he also has aphantasia and just starts with a circle and builds from there and maybe... Oh! Ooh, okay, I have to find that one. I love that. Doggies and kitties. There's two kitties. You have a black kitty and a orange kitty. An orange kitty. There is one, I think it might be on YouTube. It's about Richard and Wendy Pinney. Pini. And it's really interesting too, because it's about their ElfQuest comic. And oops, this is perhaps a bit too gory for the good old YouTube. Let's go back to a page that's a bit less messy. There you go. Bunch of skulls, but skulls are fine, right? Ew, that's gross. Yeah, let's just, this is a good page. I heard kitty. My mouse broke and I tried to find a new one. Have lent one from my partner, but we can't work both with only one mouse. Yeah! Do you have a oh no, I would have said you probably have a spare one in an old box somewhere, but you just moved. So if you had any old mouse, you probably just gave it. Like binned it. Dang it. But yeah, I'll try to find the ElfQuest documentary and I'll put it on the Discord, and if I remember right, it's just like free on YouTube. So if that's the kind of stuff that you find interesting. Yeah, this is very pretty too. Just don't want to look at it too deep because it's Hellboy, so things get a bit spooky. The cover is really cute. The cats are legit. I don't know where the spare is. We tried to find it, but we don't know where it is. My favorite part about Hellboy movie, kitties. Oh, I agree. Aw, that was so good. He's got like a bajillion cats. There's a good panel with cats in one of these too. Let's see if I can find it. I feel like it's really relatable that Hellboy likes cats. I was like, okay, you're one of the good ones. And then in the second movie, the elves are really cool. Like, really, really cool. Oh, there you go. So, not drawn by Mignola. This is by Duncan Fegredo, but kitties! So many kitties! Oh, it's so... There's such a big glare. Oh, no. There's such a big delay, too, that it's hard for me to... Hopefully... less glare. Maybe. In my UDHD assessment, it says multiple times that Lane doesn't like people that much, but loves animals and plants. It really that's so funny. So many kitties. All right. I think that's gonna be it for the stream today. I'm sorry it was a bit lackluster. Some days are like that. Just hard to come up with things to draw. And I feel like when that happens, it really highlights the importance of filling up your inspiration reservoir by looking at things, looking at photos, looking at drawings, watching movies, reading things, and all of that. So I feel like that's always a good reminder that art cannot really be made from a vacuum. You need something to transform into art. So it's time for me to get a good refill on that something. And hopefully by next stream, things will have, evolved a bit, somewhat. I love the old movies, those with Ron Perlman. The new one is, I haven't seen a new one. There's two new ones. There's one with David Harbour, and then there's another one too. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here. I really, really appreciate it. And yeah, again, sorry if it was a bit simple, but some days are like that. So that's just the reality of it. And yeah, I aim to have a video go up tomorrow, hopefully. It's a bit lengthy, so it's taking me a lot of time to edit, but I will try to finish it today so it can go up tomorrow. And then we will see each other either on the Discord or next Saturday here for another stream. So yeah, have a fun weekend, guys. Take care and see you all in the next one. Bye bye. Oh, thank you so much, Arctic Journals. I really appreciate that. And yeah, thank you so much, everyone. Thanks, Lena, Amy, Collie Smith, Otto, Box of Paint, and Lyra and Arctic Journals. Thank you so much, guys. Take care.